The best thing for me to do is to completely replot this book. I'm excited to get back into brainstorming and plotting. My progress still has been pretty slow. I don't think these ideas are interesting. It still might need a little more excitement, but I think it's enough that I can work with it. It's time to do some plotting. I just finished reading my first draft of my book, and it was pretty bad. As a result, I feel like the best thing for me to do is to completely replot this book. I wasn't really happy with the story, how it was going. I had multiple plot lines, and before I start writing my second draft, I really need to solidify the plot so that I have a very clear direction when I start writing. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie, and I am currently writing my very first book. I actually technically wrote the book because I finished the first draft. It is currently a very hot 100 degrees outside, so I have decided to spend the rest of the day inside where I have air conditioning, and I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to start plotting my book. What I will do is just sit down and brainstorm, come up with various ideas for the plot. I wasn't really happy with anything that I had come up with in my first draft, so I think it's really good if I just take a step back and look at this as a new book. I'm not gonna start outlining a book tonight or organizing an entire plot. I'm just gonna brainstorm. I may come up with 3 to 4 bullet points for each idea just to see if I can make a decent plot out of it. But tonight is all about the ideas and what I can come up with and how I can make my book better. I'm excited to get back into brainstorming and plotting. I haven't done it in a very long time, with the exception of coming up with a new book idea, which was maybe like a week ago. But before that, I have been working on this book for, I think it was 7 months. I keep saying 6 months, but when I look at the word counts that I record, it's been 7 months. So for 7 months, I've been writing and not doing any brainstorming, not really doing any plotting. And now it's time to really dedicate my time to that. I do think it will go a little bit better than my brainstorming has gone in the past, just because I have identified how I brainstorm best, what methods work for me, and just my thought process in general, I think has really improved over the last year since I started brainstorming my first book. I'm very excited to start. I'm actually gonna have dinner first and a cool little drink since it's so freaking hot outside. And then I'm going to settle in for the evening and brainstorm to my heart's content. I can't believe I did this, but I was supposed to mention something yesterday, some pretty big news, and I completely forgot. I was so anxious to get started brainstorming that it just totally slipped my mind to even mention it. So here's the big news. I have come up with a project name for this book, and I'm going to name it Project Lily. I've been wanting to come up with a project name for this for about a week or so now. I didn't need one before because this was the only book I was working on, but when I came up with a new book idea last week, I realized I really need a way to differentiate my books, and so it was time for a project name. So this book will henceforth be known as Project Lily. With that being said, now it's time to talk about how my brainstorming for this book is going. Last night, it was honestly pretty slow. I didn't get tons accomplished, although I was happy with what I accomplished. I'm probably about 25% of the way plotted, and that's only because I'm keeping a lot of the plot from the very beginning of the book. Yes, I'm cutting chapters and scenes and stuff like that, but the initial thought of the plot and how the book starts and the sequence of events leading up to a certain particular point, it's all the same. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to keep it the way it is. It's already kind of been pre-plotted, I guess you could say. What I did do was spend a lot of time really thinking about people's motivations. And this is something I didn't really do before. Before, I just kind of said, okay, there needs to be this person and this person and this person and this group of people and this group of people and this villain and this, whatever. And then I didn't really come up with their motivations and their goals. Like some of them did have goals and motivations, but some of them didn't. They were just like the evil people or like the foil or something like that. So what I did last night was I sat down and listed out every major player, whether it be a person or a group of people or a political entity. And I just listed out very briefly, like 5 or so words. What is their goal? What are they trying to do? And how are they going about doing it? And that gave me a really clear picture into everybody in the story and what they are doing, and it's going to help guide me as I kind of weave them through the story. The other thing I'm doing, which is helping a ton, is asking the question, what next? I am going through each scene sequentially, and that's just how I'm choosing to do it, and I'm saying, what next? So in the very beginning, something happened and I said, what next? And then we get to that scene and I say, what next? And by what next, I mean, what is the next? And by what next, there's kind of like a few different parts that goes into it. It's like, why are they going to do what they're doing next? Where are they going to do what they're doing next? And what information is going to be revealed next? This has really helped me brainstorm because as I move through each scene, I'm really thinking intentionally about what I'm including in every current scene and what I need to include in the next scene. So for example, I might have these characters and some information gets revealed and then they make a decision to go to a particular location. So what's next? They go to that location, but what are they doing there? Why did they decide to go there? Maybe that was revealed before, maybe it wasn't. What happens while they're there? What other information gets revealed while they're there? And then what comes after that? What's next? It has really helped me in building a cohesive story because I am trying to make sure that every scene that happens ties into the scene before it and then ties into the scene after it. And I know this may sound like common sense, but that's not something I did the first time around when I brainstormed. The first time around when I brainstormed, I came up with tons of great ideas. Ideas for character plots and arcs, ideas for world building, ideas for the enemy, ideas for political machinations. And I had all these ideas floating out there. And I didn't have a way they were connected. So what happened is when I sat down to write my story and to outline a little bit, I just said, okay, I have all these scenes. I listed them out and I said, how do I connect them all? And that's kind of how I wrote my story was I had all these random scenes. I tried really hard to connect them all because I loved all these scenes. And that resulted in a story that honestly didn't connect because I was trying to piecemeal all this stuff together and it just didn't work. Now that I'm going through this brainstorming effort again, I really see that reflected in my first draft, how it was just a collection of scenes and stories and how it wasn't one cohesive big story. So I'm really liking how I'm doing this so far, and I'm liking that my story is connected up until the point where I've left off. I think this will be really good for outlining and stuff in the future and for me to have a really good story set in stone before I start writing draft 2. Today, I've already been brainstorming for most of the afternoon. I really solidified, I think, the backstory. So like the world history, who the players are, motivations, relationships between people. I think that is really solid right now, and I'm really happy with it. I'm excited because I feel like my plot has become a little more complex, which I like. And I've just started trying to plot out from the last scene that I kind of ended on last night. I'm gonna keep brainstorming tonight, see how far I get, and then tomorrow I'll probably reevaluate where am I, how far did I get, what do I need to do. I will say I'm excited about the progress I've made so far. I really like the direction I'm going in, and I just hope I can keep it going in the right direction. been a few days. I have decided not to film for a little bit because, quite frankly, this is a very boring process. I am not bored because I am coming up with great ideas and having a lot of fun brainstorming, but for you as the viewer, it's pretty boring because all I do when I brainstorm is sit and think. Like, I sit on this couch and stare at the wall, or I stare at my little outline on my computer, or I sit there and scribble in my notebook. And sometimes I get up and pace around the apartment, but really all I'm doing is thinking. Watching me think is not very interesting. So I decided to just take a few days. I did brainstorm these last few days. I just didn't record anything. My progress still has been pretty slow. I'm not disappointed. I just wish it would go faster because I'm anxious to get moving along in the process. I've probably got somewhere between a third and half of the book plotted, and I have been really stuck over the last day or so on the middle part. And I did a little bit of reflection because I was not sure why I was getting stuck. Like, I was coming up with ideas, but I just didn't feel like the ideas were going anywhere. And the more I thought about it, it's because I don't think these ideas are interesting or exciting. Like, I'm coming up with places that characters could go or things they could do. Ultimately, when I sit back and think about it as a reader, I just don't think it's super interesting, or I just haven't made it interesting enough. And so that's gonna be my focus for probably the rest of this exercise, is how do I make it more interesting? Because I think the ideas I have work on paper. It's just making it more magical. And once I do that, I think I'll have most of the book plotted. I already know some major plot points for the end of my novel. So once I get this middle section plotted, I think I can really easily and quickly finish out the end. I am gonna try really hard to finish this tonight. I feel like I've been doing this for several days now, and I'm not getting tired of it, but I'm just antsy to move on to the next step. I will let you know if I finish tonight or if I finish tomorrow, but my goal is to get this wrapped up really soon. I'm done. I'm so excited. I have a complete plot for my book. Okay, I say complete, it's like 20 lines of stuff. It is complete in the sense that the story flows. I have events going from the very beginning to the very end, and I think it makes sense, and I'm excited about it. I figured out the middle part. It still might need a little more excitement, but I think it's enough that I can work with it and play with it when I get to that point while I'm writing. And I was right. As soon as I figured out the middle part, which did take me quite a bit, I was able to finish up the end of the book really quickly. I do have kind of like a few minor plot holes that I thought of. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it without telling you the plot holes. The question just kind of came in my head, why? Like, why are they doing it this way? Or why can't the character do XYZ instead? So what I have to really figure out now is how to get around these plot holes, which I'm not too concerned about right now, but I think I'll be able to fix that with the rules of either magic or the law of the land or something. I don't think it's like a plot hole that's gonna stop me in my tracks. I just have to think of a way to get around it. I'm just really excited that this is done. I've been working on this for what feels like a week. It's probably only been 4 or 5 days. So what am I gonna do next? The first thing I'm gonna do is get a complete list of names. That's something I didn't have when I was writing, and it really slowed me down. I was putting like this person's country as the country name because I didn't have a country name. And they don't have to be permanent names. They could be just a placeholder name, but I need to come up with names for everything in my book. And then what I need to do next, I want to outline a little bit further. So now that I have a basic outline, I want to go a little bit further because what I found is I had a basic outline, but I was forgetting like all the little things to put in every scene or chapter or whatever. So I want to make a better list of things like where I need to put them in the story. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. I need to look into that or think about it. That's all I can think of right now that I have to do before I start writing the second draft. I'm sure there's more that I just don't know or haven't thought of. I'm glad another part of this book process is done and that it went fairly quickly. One of my fears was that I would get stuck on the brainstorming for a long period of time because that's what happened before. But luckily that did not happen. I pushed through another step closer to writing draft 2. Now I just got to get a few more things sorted out before I start, and I'll see you in the next vlog.